Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first episode of the STEM Girls Talkshow. We are here today due to the efforts of the African Girls Empowerment Network. During this talk show, we would be conversing with different women from in the field of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Women who have made their mark in their respective fields and have now graciously taken out the time to tell us about their journeys and share with us their wisdom. This talk show is a platform for the women in STEM to talk to the girls aspiring to excel in it. We are sure that after hearing from our guests today, all the audience would be inspired to reach the stars. A little bit about the African Girl Empowerment Network. The African Girl Empowerment Network is a not-for-profit organization focused on advancing gender equality across Africa by empowering young women and girls, as well as local feminist-led groups and organizations in Africa. AGE was established in October 2015 as a charity and community-based organization with primary focus to end child marriage and advance gender equality in girls' education, promote young women's good health, leadership, and economic inclusion in Africa for a fairer future. AGE launched STEM Girls Initiative in 2019, which seeks to enhance female students' choices of careers in the field of STEM. You can read more about the initiatives and project by AGE on our website or by following us on Facebook or Twitter. The African Girls Empowerment Network has a girls' education program under which we have the STEM Girls Initiative, under which we also have this talk show. The STEM Girls Initiative is part of the girls' education program of AGE. It includes initiatives such as the Girls' School Club and the STEM Girls Talk Show. What is STEM Girls? It is an initiative that seeks to advance gender equality in girls' STEM education. The reason we are doing this is that it aims to provide practical information in the area of STEM subjects and support in issues that hinder girls' education. The main beneficiaries of it are the young girls in middle and high school. You can get involved in the STEM initiative by becoming friends, ambassador, volunteer, donor, or a partner. You can read more about it by the information that will be shared after the talk show. What is our aim of today's talk show? What we're trying to do here is to encourage and promote participation of young girls in STEM education. We want to hear the stories and journeys of women in STEM, and we want to answer any and all questions that you may have regarding careers and studies in STEM. We're here to inspire, we're here to connect, and we're here to answer. So why STEM? Why are we promoting the inclusion of girls and women in these fields? Before we answer this, let's take a minute to see if you can guess. Can you guess what percentage of STEM students in higher education are women? Can you guess what percentage of women who majored in engineering fields actually work in engineering? And what percentage of researchers in science are women? Let me answer that for you. Only 35% of students in STEM higher education are women at the moment. And less than 30% of women researchers are in science. Only 24% of women who majored in engineering actually work in the field. As of today, we see there aren't many girls who are opting for STEM education, and there are fewer who are opting for careers in STEM. And we are here today to try to address it. As a girl in STEM myself, I understand that if you're truly passionate about STEM, there should be nothing to discourage you from trying to pursue it. For we need women in STEM. And if you're aspiring to be one, we need you. And to further inspire you, we have today two amazing speakers. Professor Florence, who is the professor of Parasitology and Public Health, and is a member of the National Steering Committee on Neglected Tropical Diseases and consultant to Federal Ministry of Health. Dr. Juno, who is a lecturer in the Department of Optometry. We also have with us Anu, who is a student and who will be helping us today to interview these two lovely ladies. Thank you all. And I will now like to hand over the mic to Anu to please start the question and answer session.
Yeah, thank you very much, Amna. Did I get the name right? Amna, right?
Yes.
All right, thank you very much. And Dr. Professor Florence and Dr. Juno, you're welcome. So my first question goes to Professor Florence and Dr. Juno. So please, can you tell us a bit about yourself, your work, and your journey? So I do, Professor Florence can you go first? Professor Florence, you can go first.
Thank you for having me. I will say it's a pleasant surprise to have been fished out to be part of this. I am Florence Nduka from Nigeria. I work in the University of Port Harcourt as a lecturer, a researcher, and a professor of parasitology. As a young girl, I will say my journey with science started from home. My mother is a retired school teacher. My father was a dental technologist. And between the two of them, they taught me as well as my teachers did. My father being a core scientist and loved everything about science, taught me both mathematics and literature. Those were his very best subjects. So you could see opposing ends, one in the arts, one in the sciences. So I got exposed to reading and hearing about science. There's a book in our house in those days, The Giants of Science. And it became my favorite book, reading about Maria Curie and the other women who started their journeys in science. And watching my father do the practical things, set dentures, cast mold, wash off the wax, set the teeth, and a denture emerges. The fascination, you can only imagine what it was. And then to further set me on that path, I have an uncle who is a professor of medicine, but when he came home as a doctor, so when everybody was calling him doctor, doctor, and when you now ask me what is your name, I'll tell you my name is Dr. Florence, and I was just about 5 years old. So the fascination to go in that direction now started. And as one grew up and saw that you could handle the science subjects, mathematics, biology, chemistry, physics, and you could go on and on and on until after secondary school, where are you going to? I chose my scientific path still. Then in the university, the journey still commenced. The research, the desire to inquire, to find answers. And when my biology professor in the first year class said, the hallmark of a scientist is observation. A scientist must have the ability to observe. And after observing, you now try to find the interpretations, the inferences to your observations to now reach a conclusion. So it's not something arbitrary, it's not something subject to too many arguments. The answers are there. And you walk into a chemistry class, you do a titration, when the end point comes and the color just sparks, nobody tells you that you've gotten your end point. So that's a fascinating world. And I will say I am happy I went that way. And finally into my area of parasitology, where I work with parasites, those tiny organisms that you need the microscope to be able to see. Well, some of them you can also see with your naked eye. Um, in Nigeria, where I reside, is a tropical region, and you could liken it to one of the heavens of parasites. It's all around us, it's everywhere you look at. It's a major problem, like malaria, which is a pet area where I work in, like schistosomiasis, that have young girls and boys urinating blood in their urine, like the worms, soil transmitted helminths, hookworms, roundworms, that can have children have stunted growth, poor cognitive signs, that they are unable to follow in class. It can affect intelligence, it can affect their brilliance. So those are the kind of things I work with. And over the years, we've been able to try to find answers to some questions. Malaria, why is it affecting the pregnant woman more than the others? What can you do for them? The type of control measures they say pregnant women are using, how are members of your community complying to those measures? Are they just there, or is somebody following to be sure they use them? And if they use them, is it of any use, or is it just policy? So those are the kind of things I do. And sitting in the steering committee of the neglected tropical diseases, which is a set of diseases, about 17 of them, that affect over 1 billion people in the world. And they are called neglected because attention is not being paid. They are highly, with high morbidity but low mortality, so to say. So that kind of makes attention to go away from them. But they're there and they are harassing people and making their life difficult. So I guess that's the summary of what I do. And in the course of the conversation, other things will come up. But let me also add that in addition to that, I have a family. I have a husband and 4 children. And that is also a competing influence with my scientific world. Thank you.
Dr. Juno, would you like to introduce yourself? The same question, please.
Um, Thank you so much for this opportunity to be here, addressing young ladies, young girls who most probably not want to be in STEM. I'm kind of privileged to do this. It's what I do most times, trying to keep students in STEM and trying to encourage students to come in. Doing it here is an added advantage, and I'm glad and I'm happy to be doing that. So, about myself, I'm Dr. Juno Okmo. I'll call myself young, a young practicing optometrist. Optometrist has to do with eye care, and also a lecturer with the University of Benin in the Department of Optometry. I'm married with a child, and I've been into lecturing for just over 6 years or so, or 7 years or so. And that's why I say I'm quite young when it comes to academics. So about my work, I lecture, I do a lot of research, especially now when you're young, when you're an academic and you're young. Professor Lawrence will attest to that. She did a lot of researching to get to where she got to, where she is now. So I'm doing a lot of research. I'm also a PhD student in public health and environmental microbiology. I'm about my going to the third year now of my PhD studies. So now I grew up in a family where my dad wanted us to do science. he wanted to have a science person in the family. But his first choice wasn't a female. His first choice was going to be a son. He wanted his son to be the doctor. He wanted his son to be the scientist and all that. So he had a lot of fighting, quarreling with my elder brother. And I used to be there and watch all the tussle and, between both of them, the quarreling, the arguing. And I just felt, if he doesn't want to do it, then so be it. Let him be. I would do it. But I was quite young. I was still in primary school then. So, but I just knew that I'll do it. This thing you're beating him for, you don't even have to beat me to do it. I'll do it. And I saw the pain in my dad knowing that my brother couldn't do it. And then at some point he had to let him go. And then he veered towards social sciences. And so my sister was just going to arts, so she wasn't going to do it. So the next in line was me. But my dad felt because his son couldn't do it, he probably had lost hope at some point and said, maybe nobody will be able to do it. Nobody will be able to do science. But I didn't want to tell him actually that I could do it or I would do it, so I don't raise his hopes and then dash it. I just knew in me that I'll try to raise his hopes somehow. And I tried so hard, I read so hard, harder than most. And he'll always come home and meet me reading, studying, and then he'll be like, "You're still reading? What are you reading for? Do you have an exam?" I'll say, "No, I don't have an exam." "But you're studying." I say, "Yes, I'm studying." And that's how it came on and on and on. I wanted medicine as much as I could, but it was a lot of challenge, politics and all. And then I said, okay, fine. I want to do science. I want to do science. So if I can do medicine, I could do pharmacology, I could do any of the science subjects, and then maybe go back to do medicine. And then somebody suggested optometry, and I read about it, and I loved it. I liked it, but it wasn't what I wanted to do. But I said, okay, fine, I'll do it. And then I applied again and did it, and I got it, and I was doing it. And over the line, I realized that it wasn't what I wanted. But when I got to the clinical stage where I had to help patients, counsel patients, talk to people, help people see the benefits of optometry, help people get to see the world when they couldn't see because of maybe glasses or whatever, I realized that this was what I would have. I'd rather be here than be anywhere else. And then it's been optometry all the way. And then when I graduated, knowing that I came from a home where I was the first scientist, everybody keeps looking at me like I'm the golden child in the house. Like, wow, you could do what nobody could do. I have no family history of scientists like Professor Lawrence. I had nothing, so I it was scary, going out there, being the only one, nobody to look up to, nobody to give you advice, nobody to talk to you about, nobody to tell your problems in science, nobody to help you with your homework. It was crazy, but I don't know. I don't know how I did it, but I was able to do it. And then being a student, a female child in school, there are a lot of peer pressures. You have girls coming in with nice bags, nice shoes, you know, and I just knew that, okay, at some point, if I want to be a scientist, if I want to be in optometry, I should let some things go. I should not, I don't know. The problem is quite worse now because I have a lot of female students who have to counsel to stay in their books rather than stay with their friends or peer pressure and all that. So I know what I went through, trying to focus more on books and leave the friends alone and leave the boyfriends and leave the shoes, leave the bag, leave the phones, leave the beauty in something like that. So it was quite, even right from secondary school, it was all like that. But well, I was able to do it, and then I'm here. I'm a optometrist, a researcher, doing PhD. Even with my PhD, it's a struggle because I'm a mother, I have a daughter. While I was doing my MSc, I was pregnant, and then I gave birth. I was breastfeeding and writing exams. it was it was tough, like really tough. I got to a point I told myself, do I have to go to school anymore? Can I just stop? But I still had that feeling that I wanted to make my dad proud. I want him to see me and know that what he wanted from the son, he could get it in a daughter. And then I wanted to do something different. in my house. Everybody was going to science, arts. We have a lot of lawyers. We have a lot of social scientists. But to record, I'm still like the only scientist in my house. So I don't know. I just want to do something different and then hope that little girls in my family would probably see me and be the light to science that I didn't have in the house. So I think that's about it about myself and my work, and that's all. Thank you.
I cannot, I can't even express the words that how amazing it was hearing your stories. It's honestly give me jitters and it's very heartfelt. So, for both of you, I would just like to ask, what was the most challenging obstacle you ever overcame in your studies and career so far? So, Dr. Florence, if you would like to take this first.
Yeah, the well, as a young girl pursuing that career, for me, I saw some of my classmates who got married in the process, and I saw how a little difficult it was to juggle everything together. So personally, I took the decision that I will get studies out of the way before I got married, and that's the way it was for me. The challenges, you face challenges, one because you're a woman, and another because of where you are. In terms of the infrastructure you work with, some of them are not top of the line like you will wish you will have. That comes with the developing world and the challenges you can face with power, with infrastructure, with equipment in the lab, and all that. And then with working in some communities, especially if you're doing community work, you may find out that at times people's perceptions and beliefs can be a problem to your trying to even help. And so in my field of work, we do what we call community diagnosis. You're able to work with the community, understand what their problems are, and know whether what you've come to solve for them is even a problem for them. And then at times you go in and there are will I say, some beliefs, some cultural beliefs that makes achieving results in science a little more difficult. When people are unable to give, say, their stool samples, their urine samples, their blood samples during a community survey for one reason or the other, and you just need to keep talking and explaining and creating the awareness that this is for their own good. That can happen. But as a woman running a career in science, you know that science is about laboratories, it's about carrying out research. And so at times, taking your family into consideration becomes some problem for you. You have a young baby in the house, you may not be able to just take off, go to your lab to check your experiments. You may not be able to just take off to attend a conference in another part of the world. You may not even, sometimes your lectures may suffer because of who is going to take care of the child while you go do something else. And so those issues pose their own challenges. They kind of pause your career once in a while. But I've always said it is not a competition. Women are not competing with men. And when you learn to do your work or go about science as a woman, accommodating all those things that are in your path in the first place, then some of those things are no longer challenges. They become things that encourage you to move on and achieve excellence. So those could be the challenges apart from infrastructure of where we are and getting funding and grants to do the kind of work you want to do. Personal challenges will come from raising children, running a family, but when you have a supportive spouse, that is also very important. Somebody who understands what your journey is about and is ready and willing to help you achieve it. That makes the burden and makes the challenges less strenuous. You can now move on. There is no doubt that men of your age may reach certain heights before you because those obstacles are not on their way. But at the end of the day, you still get to where you're going to, and happily so. Thank you.
Thank you. I think that resonated with a lot of us. I think Dr. Juno would actually agree with every word you just said. And I would just like to ask her the same question. Like, what were the challenges and obstacles you faced, Doctor, when in your field, and what would you like to say?
Okay. Like I said, I'm facing challenges a lot all the way. So it's never been easy to be where I am now. I know it's not be easy climbing even for the now, first of all, challenges as a practicing optometrist, as a doctor of optometry, we have challenges like I'm in the clinic sometimes and somebody comes and say I'm looking for the doctor and say I'm the doctor and he's looking at me like you are the doctor and say yes I am the doctor and it's like are you sure you are the doctor? You're the doctor I was referred to. You're the doctor they're talking about. I say yes I'm the doctor they're talking about and so now when a patient does that to me, what the patient has eventually done to me is it means I have to prove myself that I am the doctor. So it's like putting the skills higher than I would. But I try not to let that be my goal. I try just to like do my work, and then I feel my work will talk for itself instead of trying to impress a patient. Now on the academic front, we we have a lot of challenges. Like I talked about my MSc, having to read all through the night, and a baby's crying for breast milk, and you have to be reading and breastfeeding, and then no, you don't really have assistance. You have to just try and juggle through your studies, and then you're asking yourself, I'm supposed to make a minimum of B average to do PhD, and you're asking yourself at some point, Aisha, I will even make a D in this course because you probably know you didn't read, you didn't sleep through the night, you didn't read like you would want to read when you had to, and so you had to concentrate on having to breastfeed the baby and then having to do your MSc. So you have that challenge on front. Then you also have the challenge of chores. As a woman in Africa, chores are at our it's almost like our birthright. you almost inherit it. You know, when you get married, you know, it's like the chores are almost part of you. They don't write it in the marriage certificate, but it's there. It's right there staring at you. So you have to at some point decide how to do it. If there's enough money for you to get somebody to help you do it, fine, good. Or a sibling to help you do it, fine. But if you don't have all these resources, it means you have to be able to do it yourself. You know, from cleaning to doing all these things. And sometimes you're cleaning and you're telling yourself the time you're using to clean or cook, you're supposed to be reading because you have an exam the next day, but you just know that your family cannot starve. You have to cook. Even if you can say, okay, I won't clean today, but you have to cook. And then it's part of the challenge. It's a big deal because food is like 3 times a day and you have to spend at least maybe 30 minutes to an hour cooking. And if you have to do really a full 3 square meal, you're talking about spending 3 hours to 4 hours in the kitchen every day. That's minus you having to work because I was already working while I was doing my MSc. So if you add these things together, it's almost like I have no time. So when I tell people that I don't have time, they look at me like, what do you do with your time? Because it's like 24 hours is too short for me in the whole day to do all these things I talked about. Because by the time I've done all this, spent all the time cooking, spent all the time lecturing, teaching, then I'm a course advisor, I have to counsel students and do that and do that. There's little more time for research or to do academics like MSc, PhD, the little more time. I remember I had a colleague tell me once and said, "You're working so hard. You want to do your MSc in 2 years or less? How possible is that? Most of us women did MSc in 4 years, 5 years. Why are you trying to do yours in 2 years?" I'm like, "What? You did it for 5 years? What are you doing for 5 years?" And then I understood why they have to do it for 5 years as a woman. You just don't have no time. Your 1 year is like 2 years because you have to stretch out your time between taking care of family, doing a lot of things. So when she was talking to me and she told me we did it for 5 years, I was like, how can you do MSc for 5 years? Even PhD, you can't do a PhD for that long. But when I got doing it, I understood, and I barely scaled through 2 years. I did it for almost 2 years plus, almost 2 years, 3 years, almost just a little, almost 3 years. And if I felt bad because I really wanted to do it for 2 years, but I knew that I couldn't have been able to do it. I had a family, I had a job, and I had school. And those three things, it's not easy doing all these things. And you're a woman, and then you don't have all the funds you need like you would want. Okay, you still have to depend on somebody, maybe because your earnings are not as much as what you want to do. So these are all these things basically putting all together. Doing MSc for 5 years is even short. I'm sure there's some people who probably do it for 8. So it's not easy at all being a lady, a woman, a young lady, young girl in the academics. And then sometimes when I have unmarried people who are in my department who decide to say, okay, let's do the academics since I'm not yet married. And you find them having almost the same problem with me, staying so long. And I'm asking myself, why they're not doing anything? They don't have the same um, um, involvement or I don't know, like responsibility like I do. So why are they not doing it? And then you talk to them, and you find out that they have their own problems. You hear parents telling them, "You're going to school, stop looking for a husband. Who will marry you when you're a PhD holder?" They are fighting their own battles with depression and all that, and then they are losing focus in their own academics because of peer pressure, family pressure. Even at work, people tell them, you hear somebody, a colleague tells another colleague, "We are looking for a husband for you." Out of the blue, like, did she tell you she was looking for a husband? She didn't tell you that. So that kind of a woman is facing her own challenges with the society. The society feels, especially Africa, I don't know about the developed countries, Africa for Nigeria, we feel a young lady in academics, you should be married at least. They don't you almost don't have much respect amongst your peers, amongst your colleagues, amongst the seniors, the professors if you're not. They don't they keep chipping it up like it's a problem. They keep bringing it up every time. They keep asking you, they keep talking about it. And before you know it, the person starts feeling depressed. And then before you know it, the person you're talking about is bringing it, she's telling you, "I want to get married." You're like, "But you were doing PhD before." She said, "No, I just want to get married." So her goal has been shifted from doing academic to a new goal. And then when she gets married, she now becomes me. She becomes me, married, a husband, chores, kids, and it's a whole different life. So whichever way you are, whether you're a spinster who's doing academics or you're a married lady, young or whatever, who's doing academics, there's all challenges for the woman. Even colleagues will look at me and say, "You have one child. Why are you saying it's stressful?" I have four. So I can't even imagine the stress of somebody who has more than one child, what this person has to go through. I remember I have gone to conferences with my child. I have to go with her. I'll put her in a like I'll when on my way to the conference I'll look for schools around that can accept her. I'll put her in that school. So when I'm leaving for the conference in the morning, I'll place her in that school. That's extra expenses for me, but that's the only way I could survive. My husband doesn't work in the same town with me, so he's away also. So who would I leave her with? Nobody. So imagine every time I have to go for a conference, I have to think of putting my daughter somewhere. Then now she's in school, I have to also think of she mixing school because she has to miss school to be with me. So it means I have to go to conferences that falls on her holidays. I can't go for conferences that are within her school period, but it means she has to miss school for that period, and I won't like that. It will hurt me so bad. I'll feel like I'm putting myself before her. So these are challenges that I've had to go through. Most times I'm guilty because I'll tell the teacher, okay, I'll she won't be around for Friday because I have to go for conferences who falls within the weekend. Conferences who fall during the week and she's in school, I just tell them I can't make it, I can't go. I've had people who I applied for a paper, they approved it, they in the conference they accepted it for me to present, but when everything was finished, I realized that my daughter was still in school, and I called her and told them I can't make it. It's been like that, having to choose between making sacrifices between choosing between your family and choosing between your career a number of times is a battle you have to fight. Sometimes you even begin to judge people who take the risk, who just dump their children. Okay, let me not use the word dump. Sorry, who just keep their children somewhere and then they go. And I meet them in those conferences and I ask them, "How you have 4 kids? What did you do?" And the woman says, "I have to live my life. I want to do this. They are somewhere." And sometimes I feel like, why would you do that? But sometimes I realize that I think I understand where they're coming from. It's difficult trying to blend both, blend family and blend
Completely
career.
agree.
It's quite difficult.
Completely agree.
Thank you very much. Yeah,
Completely
thank you.
agree, Doctor. I think the what you have covered here are some of the core important points that women in science face.
So I'll start with Professor Flores. So the third question says, have you felt that there are some unique challenges to women in STEM and particularly your field? What advice would you give?
There are challenges to women in STEM. Part of it may be stereotypes that are already in the society, where it's like those courses are masculine courses, and women tend to stay away from such. And parents have even been accused that when children are growing up, the girls, you get to play with dolls, Barbie, Barbie doll. While the boys, your brothers, may get the toy car, the train, electric train, even a gun, anything. They start dismantling, and special. They are like being taught to think in 3 dimensions, while the young girl is already being poured into the mold of becoming a wife and a mother by the kind of toys they are given to play with. And studies has also shown that some, for boys, they tend to say their best subject is science, mathematics, while the girls will say their best subject is reading. Yeah, so studies have shown all that, but studies have also shown that women are holding their own in the science field. All they need is a little push and encouragement, and to overcome the phobia that those courses they're not as difficult as people want to think they are. So if they're encouraged early enough to try their hands at such. I mean, Dr. Juno is an interesting example. His father wanted a boy for science, but she showed she can go that way. That is also part of the problem. When parents set, we are in African setting, in Nigerian setting, in fact, in the eastern part of the country, where the premium is placed on the boy than the girl, that you can, if it's a question of choice, if finances are not won't go around, then the girl is sacrificed for the boy gets to go to the school, gets to get all that attention. So those things if removed and young girls are encouraged and they see role models and they see people who can mentor them, somebody like Abisoye, who was part of the CNN Heroes of 2018, is a young Nigerian girl who decided to go into the slums to mentor young girls living in such neighborhoods and taught them how to do coding. And that won her a place in CNN Heroes of 2018. The sacrifices she had to make, cross the water in dingy canoe to access where she was going to. Or even the lady in Anambra, I think Onwa Mebu, who was able to teach those young Anambra students who were able to compete in the Technovation of, I think, 2018 too, and won the junior prize in trying to put a code that can detect fake drugs. So that is mentoring, role models, people who can encourage them and tell them that as a girl, as a woman, you're already born with eye for details. You're already born with that hallmark of a scientist, which is observation, the power to observe. That's what sets mothers apart from fathers. They can observe, pay attention, have eyes for details. And so if they translate that, they're already natural scientists. All it takes is a little more hard work to go through those subjects that are taught that are tough. They are not that tough, especially if you understand the rudiments. So teachers can help simplify those equations that look like they are jumping at you and you're looking and wondering where they are going. So they can be simplified and made easier to follow, and girls will key on. But the important point is to make them understand that there are always challenges everywhere, even in the non-STEM subjects. If you see a female artist trying to paint or trying to weave a cloth, you will also know that it is as tough as it gets. But it's setting your mind to it and trying to say, I want to do this and I need to do it and do it well. The challenges are there from home, through the school, through cultural practices, stereotyping, but young girls and women are beginning to break the barriers. But engineering, sciences, physics is still tough. Fewer women are still there. And the few that have managed to get in there, at times they don't practice. They go do something else to add to that degree, and before you know it, they are going away from that. That is not to say that there are subjects that come naturally to a woman. There are things that come naturally to a woman. Maybe that's why they like reading, because the languages are like an easier option for them than breaking through these tough equations and this. But looking at the world we are today, we can see that science and technology, we can't really do without them. And
Thank
if
you.
we get
Thank you so
more
much.
women on board,
I
then things will be easier.
yes. That is, I completely understand where you're coming from. That is what most of us do feel like.
Thank you very much, Dr. Professor Florence. Now, Dr. Juno, same question goes to you. Have you felt that there are some unique challenges to women in STEMs, and particularly your field? What advice would you give?
Particular challenges to women in optometry is, well, optometry is a course that when as a student, when you're studying in optometry, there are certain things you have to buy. tools that you have to buy that will help you practice, that will help you learn faster. If you want to depend on what the school provides, the school may not lend you those things to take home. They will allow you to use it within the department, within the clinic environment, the teaching clinic. Things like ophthalmoscope, retinoscope, a trial box. These things are things that are quite required for as a student of optometry to that we until enable them use it even preferably when they are home also and when they are in school. Now, for the female child, like Professor Lawrence tried to point out, finances are not readily available for the female child. If you have a hierarchy of finance, if you have a hierarchy of a child and you want to spread a finance, let's say you have a particular amount and it's limited in the house and you want to spread it, most times the female child will be left behind to fend for herself. Most families in Nigeria that I'm aware of would rather spend this money on the male than on the female. Now, this instrument I'm talking about per student is between 200 to 300,000, depending on the quality you're buying. So, imagine a child that is left to fend for herself. There's most likely no way she'll be able to afford this. They stick to borrowing, getting from their mates who can afford it, getting from the guys who can afford it, or just hoping that what they learn in school, in the clinic, is just enough. So basically, most times I talk to my department a lot about trying to have the instrument so that the students can use it more often in the clinic because it's quite difficult funding this thing outside. But I realized that amongst my students, it's easier for the guys to come across this, to buy it, to have it, than the ladies. It is posing a great challenge for the female. Putting the female on her toes to study more, even though she can't get the clinics all right because she has to practice with just what the school has provided, then she stuck with theoretical exams and maybe a little of the clinic as much as she can get. So this is a big challenge with optometry students that are females. And then as an advice to sort that out, I don't know, maybe funding for students in STEM, especially with departments where they have to spend money buying stuff for them to that will help in their academics, would help them in that light. But apart from that, generally from the young optometry students, which is 100 level to the final year, which is 600 level, generally females are, when you talk to them, they are more concerned about certain things more than academics itself. Maybe because there's a saying that in Africa, I think, or Nigeria, that says a woman's education ends in the kitchen. So most students will not want to spend so long, 6 years, doing a course that will end them in the kitchen. They would rather do a shorter course, an easier course, less time consuming, more tendency to graduate than a course like optometry. It's a big deal, and then it's tiring for many of them. When I get to counsel my students that are, I'm because I have the 200 level students, and then when I get to talk to them and I try to understand what the problem is, I realize that there's no real zeal for them to want to move on, because after all, they don't even know whether they work with it. Somebody will probably come in tomorrow to decide what they'll do with their degree. Maybe a husband or whoever may decide. So it's quite challenging for the optometry students. And mentoring, I think it will work a lot. And mentoring will work with them, trying to help them put them in the right direction. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Professor Florence and Dr. Juno. So over to you, Amna.
Thank you so much for taking the time to do this. So moving on, Dr. Juno, I'm just going to elaborate on more a bit on what you were already saying. So you mentioned the challenges we have in optometry and the people seeing the value of girls are not being able to see the value of being investing in it because uh, they're not encouraged enough. So I would just like to ask you, what got you interested in the field in the first place? It's a very rare field. We don't get to hear a lot about it. So please do tell us what got you interested in optometry in the first place.
Um, well, optometry is not particularly rare, but it's hidden. It's hidden per se. It's hidden in the bedrock of eye care. And in eye care, we have should I say, three categories. We have the ophthalmologists who are the surgeons, okay, who do mostly the surgical part of eye care. And then we have the optometrists who do primary eye care and then treatment of diseases and refractive errors and all that. And then we have the opticians, which are the scientists per se. Let me say, they are the ones who do the lenses, glaze them, make them, whatever category they fall into. Now, optometry is lost between these two, the ophthalmologist and the opticians, right? Optometrist is lost between these two because most times the ophthalmologist will want to do the optometrist job and the optician will want to do the optometrist job. So optometry is lost between. Yeah, so making it look like optometry is not so popular or common and all that. But with better laws and better constitutions and all that across nations and across the world, they are beginning to streamline everybody to do what they are meant to do, so that the true people can, the people who are supposed to do their job are supposed to come out. But even at that, you have people come into my clinic and say, I want to see the optician. And I'm like, if you want to see the optician, you want to fix your lenses. You say, no, I want to see somebody that will check my eyes. I say, then you want to see an optometrist. And they were like, are they not the same? I say, no, they are not the same. So there's a lot of optometry is lost between those two that I try to explain, so making it quite not even first choice for students if they want to choose a course. They don't. Optometry doesn't come to mind. Dentistry would, medicine would, pharmacy would, but optometry will not because optometry, like I said, is lost. And then we have minimum schools. We have about less than 10 schools in Nigeria teaching it, and the same thing across the world. Unlike the other courses, they have in Nigeria alone, we have 50, 60 schools teaching it. So once upon a time, we had just 3 schools in Nigeria teaching it, just 3. I think a few years ago. So recently now, there are other private schools and others coming up, so making a little more awareness. So now, what got me to do optometry? Like I said, optometry wasn't my first choice. Academic in general was not my first choice because a lot of things along the line had put me off certain things, maybe because of things we saw growing up or while you were learning. First of all, academic. I thought I've always been a teacher. My parents they own schools, so I've always thought I started teaching when I was 15. In short, the moment I left school, high school, I went into teaching. I thought, and I liked it. It was fun, and I earned the name teacher. So in my household, they always call me teacher. And I'm like, why you people calling me teacher? They say, everybody all went through the teaching. Why are you calling me teacher? And they'll say because we're good at it. So, okay, fine. But I didn't think I wanted a career in it. All right. So when I go into the university, I didn't like the relationship between the lecturers and the students, especially the female students. I didn't like it. So I didn't want to be in that kind of environment where the relationship isn't good. I feel if I have to have students, then they have to be my friend. If you're my student, you're just like my friend. You're just like a sister, just like a family. So that there's this relationship that can go on for life. So that's the kind of relationship I want to build with my students. But I didn't get that as a student. So it was kind of not what I would have wanted. So academic too wasn't my first choice. Optometry too wasn't my choice. Like I said, I wanted to prove so much to my dad that I could do this, that a female could do this. And what he wanted was science, medicine, and all that. So I wanted to do what he wanted, which was medicine. But along the line, the quota was always full, this, that, backing up and down. I felt I was wasting time, and somebody pointed optometry. And I went to read it up. And I said, okay. So I never knew there was optometry in the University of Benin. I never knew there was optometry at all. But even at that, my interest wasn't picked because this wasn't what I wanted to do. But when I got to practice, when I started in 500 level, when I went out there, do community outreach, do see patients as a student clinician, then I fell in love. Optometry is beautiful, very beautiful. It's like giving hope to people. It's like helping them see the light. There's a lot of misconceptions about optometry and glasses and everything, especially in Africa and Nigeria. And every Nigerian parents will see a child and say, God forbid my child do not wear glasses. Then you have to make them understand. I had a patient once who was a 6-year-old. He's still my patient now. I think he's about 12. And he was in front of the father brought him and kept complaining that he doesn't see. I don't know what is wrong with him. I was practically abusing him in my front, hitting him. And I'm like, sir, why are you doing this? He said, he thinks the child's faking. I'm like, if he's faking, I would decide it. And I tested him. I found that the child couldn't see. And it was simple glasses would help. And I told the man, your child cannot see. The man said, no, it's not possible. I said, he can't. And I did all the tests while the man was watching. And at the point, the man broke down in tears. I'm like, why are you crying? So he always assumed the child was faking. He always felt the child was lying. He never believed that it was a serious problem. The boy did badly in school, never passed any exam, never wrote in class. And I said, sir, take him back to school. Things should be different. And the man called me a month time and said, the teacher is amazed. He has turned into the Johnson in the class, to the first in the class. He's academically sound. So imagine doing that to a child. Imagine how it made me feel. Making me know that I could help a child who would have turned out wayward, who wouldn't have gone to school because his parents had given up hope. Like, this boy can never do anything, not knowing that all the problem he had was coming from his eyes. And it's simple lenses, simple glasses helped him. I have a number of stories like that, giving people hope. Yeah, giving so much hope to people who otherwise wouldn't have been anything just because of a mere glasses, mere lenses. And then they're like, wow. I remember a patient who I gave a prescription once and she was like, wow. I'm like, what do you mean? See? So I can see like this. I'm like, yes, you can see like this.
That is truly beautiful. So that's the kind of encouragement we do need. Like, the reason you're here is because you give hope. That's beautiful. So, Dr. Florence, we are here. We are in an age where parasites is the topic of conversation everywhere. We hear COVID-19, we think parasites. But we just want to ask you will you please tell us more about what parasitology is all about, and what particular major problems are you focusing on for Nigeria in particular? What do you can you please elaborate for us?
Yes, I was saying before I go on to parasitology, further buttressing what Dr. Juno just said, my last daughter is an optometrist, and what set her in that direction was at third grade, that's in primary school, she came home with her results. Suddenly, a pupil who normally is in the first three, that's either first, second, or third, it's suddenly 38 out of 40. And I was, no way, it's not, I mean, this is not your result. I marched to the school and the teacher said, yeah, but that's the result. And I said, what could be the problem? Then the teacher said, maybe you should check her eyes. I said, really? So I took her to the optometrist, and I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe how myopic she was. I mean, she sees a K, she calls it an L, something like that. And so by the time the optometrist took care of her and her sight became better, of course, the next time she returned to her first three positions. And that was very, very, very interesting. And that set her off in that direction. She said, oh, she's going to do that. And today she's a qualified optometrist, sounding like Dr. Juno, happy in what she's doing and all that. So that's
nice.
Yes, that's
That was
the
really
science
nice to know. So good to know.
Yes.
So good to know.
Yeah, but as a parasitologist, like I said, we work with small organisms that cause some problems for us. And the major one of those that I work with is schistosomiasis or bilharziasis. One of the symptoms is that there is blood in the urine sample of the affected individuals. So one interesting work we did was in an area where they do quarry mining. You know, they mine the stones to use it to make tar the roads, make coal tar on the roads. And when they do this quarry mining, they leave huge pits, large pits, very deep pits. And water will naturally fill those pits. And those pits are close to the homes of these villages, to their communities. So they will leave their natural streams and now go to swim in these abandoned pits, especially young children when they are coming back from school. They drop their bags by the bank of these pits, jump in and swim and all that, and they go home. Then suddenly in that community, they started noticing lots of children with blood in their urine. And they were trying to understand what it is. And since it's an area I'm interested in, one of my students went to do a field work and came back with that report. So we went into that community to do advocacy. We had the chief, that's the chief of the community, and the community members come out. And then they told us their story, that in fact, it's since that quarry mining and that water came, that they started noticing that infection, but they can't form the link. So we took samples, we went, of course, once we got there, we saw the freshwater tiny snails that are the intermediate hosts of that parasite. So we took it, watched them shed the cercaria of that parasite, and then we took urine samples from the children and looked under the microscope, and we were able to see the eggs of that parasite with its tiny spine shooting out. And so we went back to tell them that this is your problem. And the first place to start is that you stop using that water body. Go back to your natural stream. Do not use, but if you must use it, you can stand on the bank and fetch the water. Because the fact is that the more you swim, the more you expose your body surface area for the parasite to be able to penetrate. This parasite, you don't drink it, you don't eat it. It penetrates the skin. The infective stage penetrates the skin. And the more body surface it can find, the more happy it is. So if you can stop doing that in the meantime, then those who are infected, you get to the hospital, your primary health care centers, so that you get treated with the drugs of choice for it. And then we monitor you over time. Interestingly, with that level of health education, like about 12 years down the line, we found out that the disease was almost non-existent there anymore because of just following that simple step of at least avoiding the source of the infection. Then we used to have guinea worm. Guinea worm is when people drink water that is infected with cyclops. Is a water flea in the water in ponds. So UNICEF came in and they even brought boreholes and brought pipe-borne water for those people. But because they didn't engage the community, they still were drinking their old water. And the reason was that their old water tasted better than the pipe-borne water. So that is actually how community diagnosis, I mean, you have to get them to own the project. And so when they were now told why they must use this water, or at least if you must use your own, can you please boil it and filter it? That way you kill the cyclops and don't get the infection and still get your peculiar taste you wanted in the water. And so that was a step in the right direction. And gradually they now accepted the pipe-borne water and the other one. Then working with malaria, like I said, Nigeria and Congo Democratic Republic, we account for like 40% of the entire malaria in the world. So it's really endemic where we are. And the vulnerable groups are children 0 to 5 years old, pregnant women, like I said, then people from non-endemic regions who visit, semi-immune individuals who can get infected easily. So over time, we live with it. It still kills about 300,000 people in a year. So, but it's not as contagious, it's not contagious like COVID. That is why everybody is scrambling that way, because this one is a contagious infection. But the malaria, you have to get bitten by a mosquito before the parasite can be transmitted and you go on. But for the pregnant women, we saw that they are supposed to take some anti-malaria in the course of pregnancy. WHO recommended that they take it after the first trimester. They should take at least 3 doses before they give birth to their babies to be able to stop the malaria in pregnancy, which can result in the loss of the baby, or have a baby with low birth weight that may not survive, or mother can end up with anemia, kidney failure, all sorts of things. So they are being encouraged to go on this intermittent preventive therapy by taking the medicine in front of their healthcare provider during an antenatal care visit. So it's taken as DOT, direct observed therapy. But we found over time that because women register late for antenatal care, especially women who have had more than 2 children, they are now veterans. They don't want to register for antenatal care early enough. So at times they come very late. They take only 1 dose of that medicine. And that results in poor birth outcomes. So part of the job we do is we monitor the compliance to this intermittent preventive treatment. We also run research. We do research, take the blood samples of the pregnant women who are on this medicine, take the ones of those who are not complying, and then we compare who is doing better. And then that's able to help the government to formulate further policies on the issue, to say, you do this or you do that. And we encourage pregnant mothers also to use the treated bed nets. They should sleep under it so that they are protected from the mosquito bites. But at times they tell you it is too hot. The weather is too hot, so they can't sleep under it. Or at least at times there is just 1 net for an entire family. But we tell them still, how many of you can fit in? Please sleep under the net. The presence of the net can prevent the mosquito from biting other people. Because it's treated, when mosquito touches it, of course it falls down, it dies. It's treated with a chemical. So it can protect even those who are not sleeping under it. But first of all, you must spread it in the first place. So those are the kind of advocacy we do, the kind of community work we do. In addition to teaching, I teach.
Dr. Florence, I'm out of words. It seems like you are doing so much, and plus the fact is, the part of your job seems like being having to convince people that these preventive measures are for them, like, the advocacy and everything. The reason these preventive measures are in place is for their own protection. So it seems like you have a hard job trying to convince people to protect themselves. So this brings
I mean, even with COVID, you see how difficult it is to convince people that it is real. For some people, especially here in Nigeria, they tell you it's a disease of the rich and big men. They are the ones who travel abroad, and they are the ones who are who this should bother. Some people think he's flying in the, I mean, it's not their business. You talk about lockdown, they say no, the hunger virus will kill us before the COVID does. So open the door so we can go out and go fend for ourselves and find food. So advocacy is a very important tool. You must have to get into people's head and change the perceptions they have about certain things before they can key in. So without it, all those policies you formulate may just be there for you, and nobody keys into it.
Yes, exactly. This
Yes.
kind of brings me to the last question of the day. My question for you is, why do you think STEM education is important? And I also have a question from one of the girls in the audience here, which I think would kind of tie into the same thing. She's asking, please, in regards to the choice of career, what were the top challenges you think you faced, and how you were convinced about that you make up your mind in the field of STEM? So for both of you, we will end the talk show on this point from the question from the audience. What is the importance of STEM education in the first place? And for what were the choice of careers, what were the top most challenging things you faced, and how you were convinced about that you have to keep up, that you make up your mind to be in the field of STEM? So let's just take this question for the both of you. Dr. Florence, you go first, and then we'll go to Dr. Juno.
Okay. Yeah, the importance of STEM education. Like I said, everything around us is science and technology. Even let's look at the COVID pandemic. The frontliners, the people in the front line are the scientists, from the person who makes the diagnostics with which you can diagnose and say this is COVID, to the people who treat, to the ventilators they use. I mean, it takes the engineers, the scientists to be able to make ventilators, respirators, make the diagnostic equipment. So everything around is science. Even the contact tracing, the idea that you can be traced with your cell phone to know where you are, who and who you've been in contact with, is all science and technology. So it is fascinating. No 2 days are the same in a scientific world. And it's something that can interest you, it's something you can see the results, it's something you can follow, it's something also that can break your heart. You can set up an experiment and suddenly something goes wrong. Then you have to start from the beginning. Yeah, that's a challenge, but you rise above it. So STEM education is important because most of what we use is science-based, is technology-based, is engineering-based. Everything has mathematics under it, the calculations, the logic flow, all are embedded in our lives. From the clothes you wear to the food you eat, it's all science. And so when many women get on board, take the chores Dr. Juno was emphasizing, science stepped in to try to help women. The washing machines, the dishwasher, the blender, all those are things that can help women tackle some of these things and have a little time for themselves. So when women come on board, they can identify those peculiar challenges they face and try to find answers to things that can help solve their own peculiar problems, because they are now interested parties. They are no longer looking in from the outside. So that is why the STEM education is important, and that is also why it's good for women to go in. But like I said, they must go in as women. There is no competition. There is no race. You're running your own race. You're not running anybody's race. There is nothing like going to upstage the men or push them. It's a partnership. We have to work together, collaborate, tolerate each other, and create the enabling space and environment for everybody to function. So when you go in as a woman, and you realize that if you decide to get married and have children, it comes with its own challenges, which will compete with this science journey you want to embark on. And because science is research based, you're likely to use laboratories. Science students will tell you that no, there is all the online teaching and all that going on now during this COVID pandemic. They still have to find a way to do the hands-on laboratory work. They can take their classes online, but they need to get into the lab, especially the postgraduate students, to be able to bring out results and things to work with. So it's a fascinating word. No 2 days are the same.
No two
I
days.
have I have a daughter, like I said, who is an optometrist, and I have another one who is currently doing her PhD in pharmacy.
Wow.
That is, yeah, that is how interest. Right now, she's working on finding a way to deliver a drug molecule to neuroblastoma in children. That type of cancer in children's brain that is causing about 15% mortality. So part of her assignment is to find a way to deliver the medicine faster to that cancer cell and be able to help the child. That's the kind of journey that young girls should come on board. And like I say, see it from the eyes of the woman and be able to help yourself and other women.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much, Doctor. Thank you so much. It was truly an honor to hear from you. Dr. Juno, same question for you and as a closing remarks as well. And just going to say to Dr. Florence, honestly speaking, I think we're all truly very much inspired by what we've been hearing so far. Your entire family sounds amazing. Dr. Juno, over to you.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Um. Importance of STEM education. I think STEM education can get access to schools, can help students, not just in universities, because at university level, most of them already have made some decisions on what they want to do. Okay, but I think high schools, secondary schools, primary schools, the breeding age is where the children they still have a decision to make and what they want to be, what they want to do, how they want to do it. Then also our parents, the idea of having to let one child be in the kitchen with the mother cooking and the other one studying doesn't help the girl child. Doesn't help the girl child at all. Many of us parents think that we should start training our child with um, chores already so that they don't disgrace us when they are married. Many African homes have this mentality. Um, I had a running battle with a colleague recently, and she said her child is so and so age, and you're teaching her how to do dishes and do this and do that. I'm like, why don't you let this child read? Why don't you let this child study? She will learn dishes. She will learn all those things later. Why don't you encourage her to do? She said, no, no, no. If you do that, they will get spoiled. They will never learn it. And I'm like, I don't think at that age what your goal should be. Dishes and sweeping, cooking. It's almost already like you're already telling her that that's her goal in life to do this. You should teach them, but we should also the way we emphasize them learning how to do chores, the female child, we should also emphasize on them learning how to read and study, and then encourage them to do better. Because many of the problems we have with the girl child are coming from the parents. STEM education will help with the parents, educating the parents, make them understand that the girl child is as important as the male child. The girl child is as important as the male child. Every child is important. Every child is as good as one. You should not kill yourself over if you just have all girls. Because for my knowledge, most girls I know now are even caring for their parents even more than their male counterparts. So if you begin to invest on the male child more than the female child, invest in feeling that the male child has some superiority over the female child, it's not going to help. So I think STEM education should not just go to children, girls, should also attend to parents. A lot of our parents have missed it, and yet This generation, we are missing it also. We are still trying to relegate the female child to the same mistakes our parents made. And that's why in the past generations, we have more males in science than the females. And if this generation makes the same mistake in the future, we'll have the same exact statistics, having less females in STEM than they should be available. So I think STEM can do a lot of educate everybody, encourage the girls, yes, um, to be in STEM. That's good, but we should also educate the parents because most parents, the decisions they make by these children are highly affected by the parents have a lot of input to make. So I think STEM plays a lot of role to do that. And then educating the girl child, very important. Let them see the benefits of science. Let them understand that science, as tacky and as hard as it may be, it's what got us where we are. Like Professor Lawrence said, up to the clothes we wear, it's what got us where we are. Without science and technology, we won't be here. We will still be wearing palm fronts and leaves across our bodies if not for science. But science and technology has brought us thus far, and to take us even better. And then I think we should also encourage our young girls that sometimes it pays to follow what you love. If you love doing something, don't let anybody discourage you. Don't let anybody say there's no money in this, because there's no money in this, or there's no your mates are not doing this. If you love science and you want to do science, and you think you want to do chemistry, or you want to do physics, or you want to do any subject at all, and you know you have a passion on it, do it. You will only excel if you do it, if you do what you want and not what somebody else does. And when you are failing, because sometimes you will fail. It's not every time you will pass, you get to get everything right. Sometimes failure comes. And when you fail, you can tell yourself that I chose this. I will get it right. But when somebody has got you doing what you don't want to do and you fail, you will not blame yourself. You blame the person who got you doing it. And it will be the first disaster you may have to face in life. Now, talking about challenges that I faced picking up my career, I think I talked briefly of that
Yeah.
already. Yeah. So optometry is, like I said, we're trying to do our own door to door and then patient to patient education on the important benefits and what optometry is on our own, so that we can have more enlightenment on optometry. But on my own, picking optometry, um, or picking science itself, not just optometry, I faced a lot of challenges because first it has to do with teachers, with the kind of science teachers you have. If you don't have a good science teacher, you probably will never like science. So I had very good physics teacher at some point, and that's why till tomorrow physics is still my best. I can talk physics even without looking at the book. But chemistry, not so good because I didn't really have a good science and chemistry teacher. So having good teachers has a role to play. And if you can identify that you can get teachers, even if you didn't have a good teacher in your school, you can look for a teacher who's good in it, or somebody in your family, or who you can meet up to go through with you to help you liking a particular subject. So I had the challenges of picking physics related subjects over chemistry related subjects. That's why I tell people I can't do pharmacy because I don't like chemistry, and I have to study to pass chemistry. But for physics, I don't have to study. It just comes natural. Okay, so that's part of the challenges I felt in picking up. And optometry is more physics and biology. That's optics and biology. So it just became beautiful when knowing that I love physics and doing optometry just came on all right. So those were the one challenge that I faced. Then I've always been good at research, right? My parents always say you're too curious. You tell me thunder is striking, and I ask you who is striking it or why is it striking, and you tell me there's a giant up there striking it. No way, there's no giant striking it. And as young as I was, I knew there was something wrong about the giant striking an iron up in the sky. And then, as young as I was, I needed to know why, I needed to know what happened to the thunder and why we have to hear a loud noise and why we have to see light in the sky, like that. And I always wondered. I used to ask my dad, if I eat, what happens to the food? Where does it go? And my dad was like, I can't answer you. I'm not a science student. And my aunt was like, I can't answer you. Nobody could answer me in my house. Like I said, I didn't come from a science background. So most of the questions I was asking is like I was asking myself. And most of those questions I got answered myself. So it was quite challenging having to pick science in an environment where you don't have science to learn from. All what they were telling me was all the traditional ideas. why is this happening? And they'll give you one traditional folk tale or whatever about why this is happening, like that. Even when somebody is sick and like, okay, what's happening to this person? And they'll tell you this is, just give you ideas that were not scientifically inclined. And I knew something wasn't right about the ideas, and I questioned it. And when I started liking science and I started getting answers to those things, it became interesting that there's actually answers to questions I asked. And then when there was no answers, I tried to find them. So it's quite challenging when you want to go to a career and there's no backup, no background. That's why mentoring is beneficial. You have a mentor, even if it's not from your family, but from somebody who you can easily talk to, ask questions, they can easily point you the right direction. As a general advice to young girls, science is beautiful, very beautiful. It's nice to be able to do do things that your parents couldn't do 10, 15, 20 years ago. We were washing clothes with hands. Now we're washing with machines. A lot of things we do in the lab, it's not been possible years ago, but currently it's possible. Science is good, it's beautiful, and sometimes you will fail. When I was doing MSc, I failed a number of times. I wasted money. I'll do it one way and I get it wrong. I'll weep and cry that I wasted money. But at the end of it all, I realized that after doing my MSc work, I was able to advise students. Students who came, I got referred to from other departments. She has worked on a similar topic. Let her be your co-supervisor. And when they want to do it the same way I did it, that I failed, I tell them, don't do it that way, you will fail. So I now know that those times when I was failing at the method I wanted to use, I realized that it was teaching me that those methods were wrong. So now when I'm doing research, I'll never go through that way. Never, because I know I will fail. Now I know the route to go. Now I'm even advising people on how to go about it. So it's kind of beautiful doing science. Doing research is even more beautiful. If you have a passion in it, you want to do it, do it. Okay? Thank you very
As you
much.
said, just if you want to do something, just do it. And on that note, I'm just gonna have a quote that we have from Barbara McClinton that was, if you know you're on the right track, if you have this inner knowledge, then nobody can turn you off, no matter what they say. This kind of encompasses what both Dr. Florence and Dr. Juno has been trying to tell us. Believe in yourself, believe in what your capabilities, and never give up, and you will be on the right path. Thank you, both of you. It was amazing having you, talking to you, and hearing your stories has been
Thank you. You're
truly
welcome.
inspirational. Thank you,
Thank
Anna.
you.
Alice, thank you as well, and everyone. It was a great hour, and I hope to be in touch with all of you and talk to you guys soon. Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
so much.
Thank you.
thank you.
Bye.
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 Bye.